What if the greatest financial secret ever discovered was hiding in plain sight for over 2,000 years? Tonight, I'm going to share something that will fundamentally change how you view money, faith, and your divine purpose on this earth. There exists a supernatural financial system so powerful that when properly understood and applied, it has the ability to completely restructure your economic reality within a matter of months, not years. The most successful people throughout history knew these secrets, yet they've been buried beneath centuries of religious tradition and misunderstanding. Napoleon Hill spent his entire life studying the habits of the wealthy, but even he admitted there was something beyond human strategy at work in the lives of truly prosperous individuals. Tonight, we're pulling back the curtain on the most profound financial wisdom ever recorded. This isn't another get-rich-quick scheme or motivational speech about positive thinking. What you're about to discover operates on a level that transcends human logic and enters the realm of divine intervention. The principles I'm sharing have been tested across cultures, generations, and economic systems, producing the same extraordinary results every single time they're properly applied. The truth is, most people approach money from a position of fear, scarcity, and desperation. They work harder, save more, invest carefully, and still find themselves trapped in cycles of financial struggle that seem impossible to break. But there's a reason why some individuals seem to attract wealth effortlessly, while others work themselves to exhaustion with little to show for it. The difference isn't education, connections, or even talent. The difference is understanding and alignment with principles that operate beyond the physical realm. Napoleon Hill wrote about the power of thought and desire, but he also discovered something deeper in his research. He found that the most successful individuals he studied possessed what he called faith consciousness, a deep inner knowing that their success was not dependent solely on their own efforts, but on their alignment with universal laws that govern abundance. These laws don't discriminate based on background, education, or current circumstances. They respond to one thing: faithful application. Consider Abraham, a man who left everything familiar and became so wealthy that kings sought his counsel. Or Joseph, who rose from slavery to become the economic advisor to the most powerful empire of his time. These weren't accidents or lucky breaks. These were the result of men who understood and operated according to divine economic principles that most people never discover. The same principles that guided David from shepherd to king and Solomon to wealth beyond measure. What makes these principles so remarkable is their consistency. They worked in ancient Mesopotamia. They guided the building of great civilizations. And they're still creating millionaires today in cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Houston. The location doesn't matter. The economic climate doesn't matter. Even your current financial situation doesn't matter. What matters is your willingness to align your financial decisions with the way heaven's economy actually operates. I've witnessed these principles transform families who came to America with nothing but hope and determination. Immigrants who couldn't speak the language, who had no credit history, no business connections, and no safety net, yet within a single generation built thriving enterprises that now employ hundreds of people. The secret wasn't their work ethic, though they worked hard. The secret wasn't their intelligence, though they made wise decisions. The secret was their instinctive understanding of principles that connect human effort with divine blessing. Too many believers have been taught that there's something noble about financial struggle, that poverty somehow brings you closer to God. This is not only wrong, it's destructive. The same God who created the universe with unlimited resources has designed a system for his children to prosper, not so they can hoard wealth, but so they can become conduits of blessing to others. Wealth in the hands of the righteous becomes a tool for advancing his kingdom on earth. The 7 principles we're exploring tonight aren't theories or suggestions. their laws as predictable as gravity. When you understand how to work with them instead of against them, they will revolutionize every area of your financial life. From your daily spending decisions to your long-term investment strategies, from your career choices to your business ventures, everything changes when you begin operating according to heaven's financial blueprint. This journey requires more than intellectual understanding. It demands a fundamental shift in how you view yourself, your purpose, and your relationship with the Creator of all wealth. It means releasing limited thinking and embracing the truth that you are designed for abundance, not scarcity. It means recognizing that your financial breakthrough is not just about improving your own life, but about positioning yourself to be a blessing to others. The first principle that governs divine abundance is what I call the law of sacred investment. This goes far beyond the traditional understanding of giving or tithing. It's about recognizing that everything you possess is actually on loan from the Creator, and how you manage these resources determines whether the flow increases or decreases. Malachi 3:10 presents this as a divine challenge. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. And breathe, this isn't a religious tax or obligation. It's an invitation to participate in a supernatural economic system that operates on principles of circulation rather than accumulation. When you honor God with the first portion of your increase, you're not giving something away. You're activating a spiritual law that connects your earthly efforts with heavenly provision. The families who have prospered most dramatically in my observation weren't those who waited until they had excess to give. They were those who gave first, even when it seemed impossible. I remember meeting a construction worker from El Salvador who arrived in Dallas with less than $50 in his pocket. His English was limited, his legal status was uncertain, and he had no contacts in the construction industry. Yet within 18 months, he was running his own crew. Within 5 years, he owned 3 trucks and employed over 20 workers. When I asked him what made the difference, he told me about a decision he made his very first week in America. Despite barely having enough for food, he gave his first day's wages to a local church. Not out of guilt or pressure, but because his grandmother had taught him that God honors those who honor Him first. The power of sacred investment isn't limited to monetary giving. It extends to how you invest your time, your talents, and your energy. When your primary motivation shifts from "what can I get" to "how can I serve," everything changes. Your work becomes worship. Your skills become instruments of blessing. Your success becomes a testimony to God's goodness rather than just personal achievement. Napoleon Hill understood this principle when he wrote about the importance of giving more service than you're paid for. He discovered that the most successful people consistently exceeded expectations, not because they were trying to manipulate outcomes, but because they understood that generous service creates a magnetism that attracts opportunity. This is spiritual law in action, whether Hill fully recognized it or not. The second principle is the law of divine wisdom. Proverbs 3:13-16 makes an extraordinary claim. Blessed are those who find wisdom, those who gain understanding, for she is more profitable than silver and yields better returns than gold. She is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand. In her left hand are riches and honor. Notice the order here. Wisdom first, then wealth. Understanding first, then abundance. Solomon demonstrated this principle perfectly. When God offered him anything he desired, he could have asked for riches, fame, or power. Instead, he asked for wisdom to govern well. The result? God gave him the wisdom he requested, plus wealth beyond measure. This wasn't coincidence. It was cause and effect operating according to divine law. When your primary pursuit is wisdom rather than wealth, wealth becomes a natural byproduct of wise decisions. Divine wisdom operates differently than human intelligence or education. It's the ability to see situations from heaven's perspective, to discern opportunities that others miss, to understand timing that human logic cannot grasp. This wisdom comes through intimate relationship with the Creator, through meditation on His Word, and through sensitivity to the Holy Spirit's guidance in practical matters. Before you close this video and move on with your evening, I want to share something personal with you. Creating content like this isn't easy. It requires hours of prayer, research, and careful consideration of how to present these truths in a way that honors God while genuinely helping people. If this message is resonating with something deep in your spirit, would you take just a moment to hit that subscribe button? Not because I need the numbers, but because I believe God wants to use this platform to reach people who are hungry for truth about His heart toward their financial well-being. And if you feel led, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes we become the answer to someone else's prayer simply by sharing what has blessed us. Your engagement tells me that these messages are making a difference, and it encourages me to continue diving deep into truths that can transform lives. The third principle is the law of excellence in character. This goes beyond just doing good work. It's about bringing a standard of excellence to everything you touch that reflects the character of the one you serve. Colossians 3:23-24 instructs us, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving." When you truly grasp that your ultimate employer is not the person who signs your paycheck, but the Creator of the universe, it fundamentally changes how you approach every task. Excellence is no longer about impressing supervisors or earning promotions. It becomes an act of worship, a declaration that the God you serve deserves your very best effort, regardless of who's watching or what you're being paid. This principle transformed a young man I know from Guatemala who started as a dishwasher in a busy restaurant. While others complained about the long hours and low pay, he brought the same attention to detail to washing dishes that an artist brings to a masterpiece. He was never late, never careless, never bitter about the work. He understood that how he washed dishes was actually how he worshipped God. Within 6 months, he was promoted to prep cook. Within 2 years, he was head chef. Today, he owns 4 restaurants across Texas and employs over 100 people. Excellence attracts attention, but more importantly, it attracts God's favor. Proverbs 22:29 promises, "Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before officials of low rank." This isn't just about natural skill. It's about bringing a spirit of excellence to whatever work God has placed in your hands. The fourth principle is the law of strategic patience. We live in a culture obsessed with instant results, immediate gratification, and overnight success. But divine abundance operates on different timing than human desire. Galatians 6:9 reminds us, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." The key phrase here is, "at the proper time." Joseph's journey perfectly illustrates this principle. From the time he received his vision as a teenager until the day it was fulfilled, 13 years passed. 13 years of slavery, false accusations, and imprisonment. Yet every experience was preparing him for the moment when his wisdom would save not just Egypt, but the known world from famine. The waiting wasn't wasted time, it was preparation time. I've observed this pattern repeatedly in the lives of truly prosperous believers. They plant seeds consistently, sometimes for years, without seeing immediate results. They develop skills, build relationships, and maintain integrity, even when it seems like others are getting ahead through shortcuts. But when their season arrives, the harvest is so abundant, it makes up for every moment of waiting. Strategic patience isn't passive waiting, it's active preparation combined with unwavering faith. It's continuing to plant even when you can't see the fruit. It's maintaining your standard of excellence even when it seems unnoticed. It's trusting that God's timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't align with your timeline. The fifth principle is the law of purposeful planning. Some believers have been taught that planning shows lack of faith, that true spirituality means just stepping out in faith without preparation. This is dangerous thinking that often leads to failure and discouragement. Jesus himself taught the importance of careful planning in Luke 14:28. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? Divine planning isn't about trying to control outcomes. It's about being a faithful steward of the resources, opportunities, and time God has entrusted to you. It's about thinking through potential challenges and preparing solutions in advance. It's about setting clear goals that align with God's purposes for your life and creating strategies to achieve them. I know a couple from Honduras who came to America with a dream of opening their own business. Instead of just hoping for the best, they spent their first 3 years working for others while carefully studying the market, saving money, and learning everything they could about business operations. They created detailed business plans, identified potential locations, and built relationships with suppliers and customers. When they finally opened their auto repair shop, they weren't gambling on success. They had prepared for it. Proverbs 16:9 provides the perfect balance. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. You do your part through careful planning and preparation. God does his part by opening doors and providing divine opportunities. Planning with prayer creates a partnership between human responsibility and divine provision. The sixth principle is the law of kingdom purpose. This principle distinguishes between mere wealth accumulation and true biblical prosperity. Matthew 6:33 provides the blueprint. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. The promise isn't just that your needs will be met, but that abundance will be added to your life when your primary focus is advancing God's purposes on earth. Kingdom purpose transforms your relationship with money from ownership to stewardship. Instead of asking, "How can I get more?" you begin asking, "How can I serve more effectively?" Instead of viewing your business or career as a means to personal enrichment, you see it as a platform for demonstrating God's goodness and blessing others. This shift in perspective doesn't limit your prosperity, it unleashes it. Consider the life of Daniel, a young Jewish exile in Babylon. He could have focused solely on survival in a hostile environment. Instead, he chose to serve with such excellence and integrity that he became indispensable to multiple kings and kingdoms. His commitment to honoring God in everything he did didn't limit his influence. It expanded it beyond anything he could have achieved through purely personal ambition. I've witnessed this principle transform the life of a Mexican entrepreneur who came to Phoenix with nothing but determination and faith. As his construction business began to grow, he made a radical decision. He committed to using 25% of his profits to build affordable housing for immigrant families. This wasn't just charity, it was kingdom purpose in action. Rather than limiting his growth, this commitment attracted investors, partners, and opportunities he never could have created through self-promotion. Today, his company is one of the largest Hispanic-owned construction firms in Arizona, and he's helped hundreds of families achieve the dream of home ownership. Kingdom purpose also provides protection during difficult seasons. When your success is built on serving others rather than just serving yourself, you create a foundation that can withstand economic storms. People who operate with kingdom purpose don't just make money, they make a difference. And that difference creates a legacy that lasts far beyond their lifetime. The seventh and final principle is the law of grateful abundance. Gratitude isn't just a nice spiritual discipline. It's a powerful force that opens the windows of heaven and creates a magnetic field for continued blessing. 1 Thessalonians 5:18 instructs us to give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Most people have this backwards. They think gratitude is something they'll express after they receive what they want. But biblical gratitude is a posture of the heart that recognizes God's goodness even before the breakthrough manifests. It's thanking God for His faithfulness when you can only see a closed door. It's praising Him for His provision when your bank account is nearly empty. It's declaring His goodness when circumstances suggest otherwise. Jesus demonstrated this principle when He fed the 5,000. Before multiplying the loaves and fishes, Matthew 14:19 tells us He looked up to heaven and blessed and broke the loaves. He gave thanks before the miracle, not after. The gratitude preceded the multiplication. This is more than symbolism. It's spiritual technology that activates divine provision. I want to pause here and speak directly to your heart. If you've made it this far in this message, something inside you is hungry for more than just financial improvement. You're longing for a life that matters, for purpose that transcends mere accumulation, for the deep satisfaction that comes from knowing you're aligned with God's best for your life. That hunger is God's invitation to something greater than you've yet experienced. Before we continue, would you honor me by subscribing to this channel and sharing your story in the comments? I read every single comment, and I'm continually amazed by the testimonies of what God is doing in people's lives as they apply these principles. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to take their first step of faith. And if God is stirring something new in your heart tonight, let us know how we can pray for you. This isn't just a YouTube channel, it's a community of believers who are serious about walking in the fullness of what God has prepared for us. Grateful abundance changes your entire energy field. It shifts you from a posture of lack to a posture of expectancy. It moves you from focusing on what's missing to celebrating what's already present. And this shift creates space for God to add more because He knows it will be received with a grateful heart rather than taken for granted. The power of these 7 principles isn't in understanding them intellectually. It's in applying them consistently with unwavering faith. Information without application is merely entertainment. But when you begin to live these truths, when you align your financial decisions with heaven's blueprint, you step into a realm of possibility that defies human logic. Napoleon Hill spent 25 years studying the habits of successful people, but he also discovered something that went beyond mere human strategy. He found that the most successful individuals possessed what he called faith consciousness, an inner knowing that their success was guaranteed, not because of their own abilities, but because they were operating in harmony with universal laws that govern abundance. These principles don't work partially. They don't respond to casual interest or half-hearted commitment. They require the same level of dedication that an athlete brings to Olympic training or a musician brings to mastering their craft. Excellence in any arena demands consistency, discipline, and unwavering focus on the fundamentals. The beautiful truth is that these laws don't discriminate based on your current circumstances, your educational background, or your family history. They respond to one thing: faithful application. Whether you're a single mother working 2 jobs to support your children, a recent immigrant trying to build a life in a new country, or a business owner looking to expand your influence, these principles will work for you if you work with them. But let me be completely honest with you. Most people who hear this message will do nothing with it. They'll be inspired for a moment, maybe even share it with a friend, but they won't make the fundamental changes necessary to experience transformation. Others will try to apply 1 or 2 principles while ignoring the rest, wondering why they don't see dramatic results. Only a small percentage will embrace these truths as a complete lifestyle and experience the kind of breakthrough that becomes a testimony to God's goodness. The question isn't whether these principles work. Thousands of years of history prove their effectiveness. The question is whether you'll join the small group of people who are willing to live differently in order to experience something extraordinary. The choice is entirely yours, but the opportunity won't wait forever. Consider Abraham's decision to leave everything familiar and trust God's promise of blessing. He didn't wait until he felt ready or until he had all the details figured out. He simply began moving in the direction of faith, and God met him at every step of the journey. Your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of a decision to align your life completely with heaven's blueprint for abundance. Think about Joseph's response to his brothers who had sold him into slavery. Instead of seeking revenge when he had the power to destroy them, he chose to see God's hand in his circumstances. He understood that his suffering had positioned him to save nations from famine. Your current challenges aren't obstacles to your destiny, they're preparation for it. Remember David's confidence when facing Goliath. While others saw an impossible giant, he saw an opportunity to demonstrate God's power. His previous experiences protecting sheep had prepared him for this moment of national significance. The skills you're developing in your current season are preparing you for assignments you can't yet imagine. Reflect on Solomon's request for wisdom when he could have asked for anything. He understood that the right wisdom would produce everything else he needed. When you prioritize spiritual understanding over material gain, you position yourself to receive both in abundance beyond your ability to contain. The time for hesitation is over. The time for excuses has passed. Tonight, you have a choice to make that will determine whether you continue living below your divine potential or step into the abundance that God designed specifically for you. These aren't just principles to admire. They're laws to activate through consistent, faith-filled action. Start with one principle that resonates most strongly with your current situation. Maybe it's beginning to give sacrificially even when resources are tight. Maybe it's bringing excellence to work that feels mundane. Maybe it's developing a daily gratitude practice that shifts your entire perspective. The specific starting point matters less than the decision to begin. Ephesians 3:20 declares that God is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. This isn't poetic language. It's a legal guarantee for those who align themselves with his methods of operation. The same power that raised Jesus from the dead is available to resurrect your financial situation, your career prospects, and your family's future. Your story isn't finished. Your best days aren't behind you. The same God who brought Abraham from obscurity to influence, who elevated Joseph from prisoner to prime minister, who transformed David from shepherd to king, is ready to write a chapter of abundance in your life that will inspire generations. The principles have been revealed. The choice is before you. What you decide in the next 24 hours will determine whether you look back on this moment as the night everything changed or just another inspiring message you heard and forgot. Choose wisely. Choose faith. Choose to become the person God created you to be. Your abundant future is waiting.